this morning, and I am Jennifer Sonko, and here with my amazing co-host Ibrahima Balde. It's really good to be back on here.
No, absolutely. You don't know how I feel. I mean, right now,
thank you.
To know, you know, our Jennifer is back, well and sound.
My Jennifer is back.
You know, it's good to have you here. So Lola rek namon nañ la trop, and you know, we are glad that dem nga def nga sa training bi ba pare delu si nga si jàmm. Xam naa ne su soobee Yàlla dinañ fi jàngal lu bari lu jógee si Chinese mbaa laka nga Chinese foofu.
Well, anyway, Mr. Mbodj, ñu ngi la dalal si programme bi. Thank you so much for joining us. Balde, it was an amazing experience because, like I said on my social media videos, when this opportunity was presented to me, I nearly rejected it because the embassy gave me like few hours for me to decide if I was going to take the opportunity or not. So I had to like consult few people, you know, ask them because I had some things on the pipeline, you know, that had to do with finances, work. You know how young people do it, you know, trying to ensure that we do different things, you know, to have a proper way of living, considering the economy and all of that. So all those things were on the pipeline. So I said to myself, am I ready to let go of this? If I go there, I think it's going to work as expected because I didn't know clearly what to expect. But this is like a life-changing opportunity for me because, like I said, my work ethic has changed. My health has improved, you know, because I have few health conditions that I deal with on a daily basis. But when I went to China, it changed because some of them had to do with, you know, my habits that I had in Gambia, way of eating and all of that. So which has really improved when I went to China. And generally, just Chinese are very, very hospitable and, you know, very warm people. And that is something that I've learned as well. And my internship at CGTN, before I went to China, I thought I was the most hardworking person, Balde. But when I arrived and I saw how Chinese work, I was like, hey, I'm so lazy. I wasn't working in Gambia. I need to improve. So generally, it was an amazing experience, and I'm glad to be back on here to share with my colleagues and, you know, hoping that the opportunities of visiting China and working with the Chinese will continue to grow. So special thanks to the Chinese embassy in the Gambia, to QTV, and also the chairman of the Q group, because while I was in China, he came for the FOCAC, and he was really supportive. So if you're watching, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's very significant. I mean, when you talk about China, what people will tell you, they are very hardworking people. We've seen how Chinese, you know, the community is dominating when it comes to the technology sector. We've also seen how they are competing big nations, the likes of the US and other countries. So changing environment is very important for one's mental health at some point. That's why sometimes they'll tell you, take a break, go and relax somewhere. So I'm not surprised that you're telling us your health has improved drastically.
But my health did not even have anything to do with taking a break from Gambia. It was just about few habits that I just needed to improve. Like, for example, I don't take sugar anymore. I don't drink cold water. I only drink hot water.
Oh, really?
My eating times have changed.
Nice.
So, you know, any individual, and also I've stopped taking coffee, you know, no caffeine. So all of those things have changed because obviously because of China's tea culture. So these are all.
So how are you going to adapt now? I mean, that's the thing here. It's easy, you know. Maybe the China's tea culture, I mean, will prompt you to do certain things.
Yeah.
But probably it might be a different ball game in the Gambia. So how are you going to adapt?
Not necessarily, because tea amna Gambia.
Wow.
Tea amna Gambia. Sukur man la neex ma sukur wala bu ma sukur du ma sukur. Ndox bu tanga amna Gambia, ndox bu seda amna Gambia. Suma ewo first thing in the morning, dama naan ndox bu tanga first. Lolu min nako ba pare. Te lolu has been helping me a lot, like I said, with health issues.
Because one thing about ndox bu seda, probably fufu dafa seda.
No, ñoom tàngaay sa during summer, because man summer la dem China. Te during summer bobu sa so visiting nit kiram or you go to an event, ndox bu tànga jir bu nekk si flash dañ la saaf. Which is a good thing because it helps with digestion, constipation, yini, and all of that. I'm not saying my health has improved 100% because it was just 4 months.
Well, at least.
But if I feel like if I continue all the good habits that I've learned, my health condition will improve. You know,
it's almost as if you've become more self-aware.
It's some sort of self-awareness
because
these are
discovered yourself.
That was quite very interesting. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Obviously, good experience, and I'm glad that after the initial ambivalence, you were not sure whether you wanted to go or not.
I wasn't sure.
You plunged in and you went for it, and see how sort of your perspective has changed. I think it is the perspective. That is because you've had the distancing.
Yes.
You need some distance from what you're judging to quite see it properly. Quite interesting. So traveling itself is part of your education.
Yes.
For a very long time before you left for China, I used to tell everybody, I wish that you could just travel for a while because some of your bad habits, and I'm going to say that, maybe that will help wean you off some of your bad habits. And I'm glad you've said about the work ethic.
Yes.
Completely different ball game. The organization. That's extraordinary, the organization. And I also hope that with you culturally, not simply this economistic sort of corporate identities and the like, but the totality of Chinese life.
Yes.
At home. Well, how do they talk about things? You know what I mean? And what makes them tick? It's quite interesting. What would make a Chinese tick, for instance? The more interesting questions about people, the GDPs and economic indices, fine. But the more social, the moral, the norms, I find that more interesting in people than these other things.
But so due to time constraints, I guess Ibrahima is going to invite me probably on a special show where I will share my experience, because if I have to share my experience, we'll be here for a very long time. I need a whole segment to myself to share everything. But we'll be having an event shortly at the Chinese embassy where I'll be sharing my experience with school children, inshallah, in January. So school children, be prepared. I'm coming for you all. So moving on, let's take a look at current affairs. So yesterday, Jimmy Carter, the 39th president of the United States of America, passed away at 100 in Georgia yesterday. So, I mean, he's 100, but when a person dies, obviously you feel sad. And considering that his impact was actually not when he was president, but afterwards.
After his presidency.
Yes, with the Jimmy Carter Center and all of that.
That's what people say, that yes, the biggest impact was after he was president, 81, from 1977 to 1981, when he was defeated by Reagan. He was a Democrat, by the way. But for some reason, with Africa anyway, he had a favorable, as it were, viewing from us. We regarded him favorably, because he was fighting for causes that we thought were sort of in our interest.
Yes.
He wanted, when it came to nuclear weapons, to reduce them, having, I think he was one of the people who signed the SALT Acts, strategic arms limitation talks. There were certain important treaties that he signed with Russians so that they could reduce nuclear weapons and other progressive causes. He was just a progressive.
He was a Nobel Peace Prize winner as well, right?
Afterwards, he won the Nobel Prize. But again, he did few things. For instance, in Iran, the Iran issue, where they went into rescue some people, but the operations failed. So in the end, he was defeated. He served only one term. This is the remarkable thing about it. But he was a great humanitarian. That's what people will tell you. Afterwards, his foundation, his center, the Carter Center, did so much good around the world. So he was just a remarkable
Before his presidency, he was also the governor of Georgia.
Yeah, he was governor
at some point. You know, I am not surprised. I mean, he made more impact, I mean, after his presidency than during his presidency. I mean, let's filter that down to Africa as a continent. Instead of, I mean, you know, making impact after presidency. I mean, you tend to think you can make that impact while you are president. That's why most people kill themselves just to be in the helm of affairs.
That's it. Our problem is we have a kind of winner takes all kind of politics. Yeah, either I'm in power or not, because often when you're out of power, then maybe they will come after you because of what you had done previously
most of
in
the time,
power.
that's the case.
That's the case.
Most of the time.
That's it. So the wider politics is not really healthy for that kind of thing. But this is it.
Yeah.
Well, we're beginning to see in Senegal something like that. You have certain pockets, maybe perhaps even in Cape Verde. You know, the culture. That culture of being in power, doing the right thing, afterwards you can become an elder statesman and go on to serve in other things. Yes, we have a huge deficit in the way we do things, but it's just the nature of our politics. Otherwise people will come after you. It's just winner takes all. It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, so I think current affairs.
Yeah, I think we have a video, Jennifer.
Oh, we do?
We need to play that video.
Okay, what is the video about?
Last week, I mean, we've seen a video on social media circulating, Serekunda market, how filthy, how people litter everywhere. You know, people are not even considering the dustbins that are put on the sites by KMC.
Right.
So we have the video. I think if our director have it, we can take a look at the video. Just look at that. You can see how people litter everywhere. I mean, cafe tuba cups, I mean, different nylon bags. And even though we have the bins, you can see the bins. Just take a look at the bins.
Yeah, they're empty, it seems.
They are empty, you can see it there. But the discipline of, I mean, being patient and using the bin, it's a problem for most of the people. That's why all the time we talk about the anti-littering law. But I mean, if people are not serious and responsible, we are still going to continue facing these things, Mr.
See, you call it discipline. I call it being cultured. One is often brought up in that kind of way. This is really what our problem is. This is what we are facing now. Well, when we were younger in Banjul, we were used to putting litter in the bin. I do not know what happened along the way now. You have more youth now, granted, and you're bound to have your percentage of people who do not necessarily follow norms, granted. But again, this is what the problem is. I'm not sure here whether the laws can help us really. How would enforcement look like? There's a societal issue that we need to discuss, we need to address. Can you imagine, how can you enforce this when everybody, a lot of people do it in the public space.
Right.
So we feel, that's it, we feel in public space I can just throw things anywhere and try telling people who are doing these things, these perpetrators, try addressing it, and they'll tell you, is it any of your business? So it's like the public space is an orphan. It is nobody's, you know. So we are in trouble. It's a societal issue. How do we address it? We keep saying, follow the rules, follow the rules. Do you think the people who do these things do not know what the rules are? Do you think that we break the rules because we do not know them? I disagree with that. We know what it is, but we've just got bad habits.
Yeah. So so moving on, I just saw this very interesting headline on the papers, which has to do with how domestic workers receive wages as low as 1,500. So there's an association now of domestic workers, you know, coming together to ensure that the rights of domestic workers, you know, are respected and all of that. But recently, I've seen that there are companies that exist where they recruit domestic workers, and then they take these domestic workers and then send them to companies, send them to households to be nannies, you know, cleaners and all of that. So when I read through and realized that there's an association and now domestic workers are more organized, I feel like regulations now can be channeled through these bodies that actually have the domestic workers working there, and then later they send them, because previously it was dama sohla jangha and then you get the domestic worker even on the street. Nit mun na mo romba sene dama buga liggéey nga jël ko liggéey. But now, because there's an organized setup where there's a company name registered under the government and all of that, and then these individuals are sent to households, companies, I feel like regulations can be done better as to, you know, the wages, but there's no minimum wage at the end of the day. It's a very difficult one.
That's exactly what
there's
the
no
issue
minimum
is.
wage.
There is no minimum wage.
Yeah, so it's hard.
So it just depends on what people agree. It's a free market.
And it's challenging.
So that is it. The informal economy, that's all informal.
Yeah.
I can just see you in the streets
and
just
get
go
you.
on and that sort of thing. So this is really...
I wonder what can be done now. Not much, right?
There are things can be done. We've seen how other societies have done it in the past. For instance, you really cannot provide services as a maid if you do not belong to an association.
Right.
Can you imagine if we came up with such ideas? Even as an electrician or plumber, whatever you may call it, you simply cannot go and give services if you do not belong to an association.
Right.
You're not going to bring just one national association, make it compulsory. It can never be like that. You are free to form associations, but everything is registered. That way I will know how to tax you. When you get your jobs, we will get all of that. We'll know how to tax it. We'll know how to organize it. We'll know how to take accountability. You don't give me the right service. I know exactly where to go. You know how to set high standards. You know what I mean? But
that is happening right now.
Everything is voluntary.
Yeah, but
you are not required to join any organization.
Yeah, but right now they're not joining organizations. But right now there exist companies where they're registered under the government, they're paying tax as normal, and then when you need a maid, you get a contract that you sign, they bring the maid gets sick, they bring you another person. So I feel like as long as those are available, then it's easy to negotiate what you're talking about.
Well, you know...
Would you have enough of those? This is the key. These things are merely voluntary. This is my point.
Right.
I am talking about anybody who wants to offer a service.
You have to go through there.
You have to join an organization of some sort, registered, then we can trace you, you have your number, then you will pay the appropriate tax. We're talking about, we want to expand the base of people who pay tax.
Okay,
putting
but
up
again,
a structure is very significant.
Other societies, this is how they've done it in the
whatever
past.
you do. I mean,
this is how they did
like
it in the past.
Jennifer mentioned, we have seen many companies doing the
Yes.
same thing.
Yeah.
And
how many companies are doing
we have a lot of them. I don't want to mention.
How do you, because you do not know. We have to
I
do
know
the studies.
three.
I don't want to mention
and
their
then
names.
try to think of how many employees are there, given the potential.
Even one
the
of
research can
our
be done.
partners, even one of our partners, is it the Star Driving School?
They have something like that.
They have something
so
like
which means
that.
I know 4 now.
You understand? They are doing something like that. So it's coming up. At some point, I've in fact engaged a meet. You know, I was like, I mean, what about your job? That okay, it was difficult for me to get it, but I have to pass through a company to be employed. I mean, in this day and age, things are changing. The world is moving. So you cannot employ someone, I mean, to do certain things for you directly. I mean, there should be a channel where you can channel it so that it can be organized at some point.
And also, it is now becoming a culture. I'm not saying in every household, but majority of, you know, some of my family members and some of my friends that I know, majority of them are now using agencies, which are these domestic workers agencies, because people do not even trust, like you mentioned. They would rather go to the agency, because with the agency you submit your medical report, you submit everything. But due to time constraints, quickly, Mr. Mboj, I don't want you to go without us having an opportunity to discuss this, because it's a conversation. The president of the Gambia hosted the first media dinner where he invited the media, not just the media chiefs, but journalists, you know, across different media houses, and had conversations with them. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I know a topic is going to come up about why is the president meeting you know, the media. But at the end of the day, it's about the fact that this happens in other countries. It's normal because the media and the government are not in any way enemies. You know, it's important that sometimes the president has that face-to-face. I saw the president in his very nice suit that I love so much.
And he
was
interacting.
Around, you know, talking to the journalists directly.
I also said the same. I mean, probably many people might paint, I mean, that dinner black. But the media and the government of the Gambia, they are partners in development.
Right.
At some point, the media, you know, doesn't see the government as enemies. I mean, they hold governments accountable. And at the same time, the government too shouldn't see the media as enemies. So I think it's a step at the right direction. No matter how some people might see it, there must be something good out of it as well.
There is. Everything is good about it to me.
Was I wouldn't understand any kind of
negativity,
negative reactions, as it were, for a long time now. Especially when Dr. Ismail Assise took over, we've been having this regular, as it were, interface between government, where you had ministers coming to answer questions from journalists. So this government media thing, we will always have it. Maybe people's fear would be that. What's the government doing? Are they trying to butter up, if, as it were, the media so that they wouldn't be too critical about this or too critical about that? You're always going to have this tension between them. Just depends on what the media does afterwards. And then our problem is we tend to regard the media as one thing because of this word, which gives the impression that it's a singular. Actually, media is a plural. You have so many different voices. You see, the danger always comes when we think that the media is just one thing. You will always have different voices. You will have voices that support the government. You will have voices that wouldn't support the government. So let us understand the media in its plurality, so that when we judge it right. We do not paint everybody with the same brush, as it were. So I'm not sure what people expect, but the different voices, the plurality will always be there.
I understand the feelings of many people. I mean, they might think, I'm not saying the government is feeding the media, but when a man feeds you, he controls what you do.
But in fact...
So I think that's the angle they are talking about.
In fact, when I watched the speech on GRTS, I watched the president's speech, and I also took a look at the speech of Pap Sen, co-founder of The Point.
Point newspaper,
So the co-founder of The Point pointed out how part of his expectations is that the media should be subvented, you know, supported by government. And we all remember when the issue of the 40 million came, which was given to some media houses, to, you know, meant to ensure that when the government needs coverage, you know, when they want to have panel discussions and all of that, this is the money that is going to be used to cover for government expenses, not necessarily, you know, showing a positive image of the government. So considering that that happened and there was a lot of criticism around it, so I don't know how the media being subvented as requested by Pap Sen, co-founder of Point, will be received at the end of the day, because the first attempt, which was the 40 million to several media houses to ensure that government programs are covered, was not received well by the public. So I don't know how we're going to walk around a subvention as requested.
Well, he who pays the piper determines the tune. As they say, there will always be that fear. And in some countries, yes, media, perhaps not all, some are being subvented by governments. Or there are different models out there. I'm quite suspicious of that, that sort of thing, just because of the piper metaphor, if you pay it. I'm suspicious of that. Yet, on the other hand, you realize that a lot of independent, well, this is the problem why you cannot become independent. If you're not financially independent, then you're not really independent. You cannot be really independent. So you have all of these media outlets, but again, the income that's coming in is really not much. So you will want government to give them money, to subsidize them, to give them subventions. But again, what happens when your reports are becoming adverse to government, it's just human nature, then what can happen? And when you're receiving all this money, how would that interfere with the way you report, as it were? So there are certain risks associated with these things. And I will come back to what I said earlier on. I cannot expect so-called media all to behave in the same way. They have good manners. They're also professional. Where does that exist in the world? It doesn't exist. So let us respect the plurality. Then we become more specific in our judgment.
Right.
Our judgment is often so general, it misses it. It doesn't inform me. It doesn't give me any insights. It's just too general. Break it down further to really reflect the nature of media. Some would support, others will not. And others would be, say, I'm neutral.
Yes.
So you cannot have one voice. You cannot have one picture. It is our visualization of media that misleads or obscures our thinking. It obscures the thinking.
So, Mr. Mbo, due to time constraints, we have to let you go. There was actually a headline that I wanted to treat so bad, but hopefully tomorrow when we come back, we'll get to look at that. Thank you so much, Mr. Mbuj, and have a nice day. Go ahead, go get your coffee, because I know you're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
So we'll just go for a short break, and when we come back, the show continues. Don't go anywhere.
This December 31st, Q Carnival is taking over Q City for the biggest celebration of the year. From 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m., the evening kicks off with a vibrant cultural and family fun festival hosted by Famous Comedy. A perfect mix of colorful cultural displays, live entertainment, and exciting games for the whole family. But that's not all. The Q Carnival Marketplace is open from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. Shop unique crafts, handmade treasures, and indulge in mouth-watering foods from incredible vendors. Then as the clock strikes 12 midnight, the sky lights up with spectacular fireworks display. Now say goodbye to 2024 and welcome 2025 with a bang.
It's all about the Q Carnival Music Concert, live in a place we call Q City Complex. On the 31st of December, all road leads to Q City, featuring Jizzle, Miss Jobis, Hussein Dada, Antoine Sparky, Nyancho, Big Banger, and many more. Tickets are 200, so massive. Make sure uno lineup live in a place we call Q City, 31st of December. Everything good. Come and enjoy the ambience. Whether it's culture, shopping, food, or music, Q Carnival is where all is happening. Q City is the place to be, the 31st of December. Q Carnival, you don't know, can't miss this carnival.
Gambia, are you ready to party?
Get ready for the biggest celebration of the year.
It's Q Carnival at Q City. This December 31st, we're taking it to the next level.
From 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m., Q City kicks things off with a vibrant cultural and family fun festival, perfect for all ages.
Shop till you drop at the marketplace, open from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. Vendors, grab your stall for just $2,000 seats.
Indulge in a classic gala dinner from 7 p.m. to midnight. Come hungry, leave happy. And then when the clock strikes 12, the stage explodes with a live music concert from midnight to 5 a.m. The hottest artists and DJs will keep you dancing till dawn.
Don't miss out. Mark your calendars and join Q Carnival, the ultimate New Year's Eve celebration at Q City.
QMoney and Orange Money has just made money transfer easier. Now you can send money from Gambia to Senegal directly from your QMoney wallet. So what are you waiting for? Get your QMoney account now and start sending money to your friends and families through Orange Money in Senegal now. For more information, call our customer care on 133. QMoney, Sunu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
QMoney e Orange Money joni weɓini nuldugol mbuɗi mi yetoma joni iɗa wawi nuldude mbuɗi iwra ko Gambia ɗo yaha Sénégal e QMoney wallet ma on eyyi ko honno wonɗa e fadde mi yetoma udduto QMoney account ma on joni fuɗɗoɗa nuldude mbuɗi e teriɓe ma rewa ɗon ka Orange Money nder Sénégal fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi iɗa wawi noddude QMoney customer care e 133 QMoney suñu kalpe ɗum no yaadi e sartaji.
Short break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning, and I am Jenna Basonko. So from the newspaper review, we're now heading right on to our segments, Ibrahim, and we're taking a look at the Scorpion Karate Club, and they're about to host their 3rd annual karate competition, and we're joined by Pa Usainu Haden, who is the Secretary General of the club, as well as Momodu Jallo, who is Master with the black belt is clear. So man ñeme ñu mala nak parce que nga man borom black belt yi dégg naa ne nag ay ñu garaaw ngeen. Black belt bi sa fan la dee njëkkee da ngaa njëkk a am blue,
white,
da ngaa njëkk a am white,
yellow,
orange, green, blue, brown 1, brown 2, brown 3, black. And black. Yes. So it's 9 altogether. So you have to pass through all these stages. Yo ko tiye dal dina daanu. Yow daal dama la bëgg a boole kii.
Man white la emoon.
Lu ma bëgg a mooy kii nga dóoral ma ko ba mu bëgg a dee. Parce que kii yow sa benn loxo rek boo ko tegee si kaw kii mbaa kii dina dunda.
Man white laa defoon.
Kii def loo white.
No def naa white.
Gomuma la.
Okay, Harlan ma woon. Harlan master. I want to demonstrate.
Waa demonstrate.
Su ma ne nii.
Waa.
Su ma ne us. Yooy. Jums Komai. Osuki.
Jakusuki.
Jalan Suki.
Very good. Hey.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Man def naa karate.
Dama bëggoon mu leer. Man bëgguma ay laaxa. Xam nga léegi leer na si man. Xam naa ne kii amoon na belta bu weex bi. Waaw. Yow laay oo. So congratulations because pour nga war a jógee from number 1 to number 9. Definitely you're a master, so congratulations for the work.
Thank you very much.
So dañoo start ak yow because obviously wax nga ma ne there altogether 9 steps pour nga mun a nekk master nga am the black belt. So journey boobu naka nga ko dundee woon because it might have been difficult te ñun ñëpp xam nañ ne karaté Gambia masha Allah am nañ ñu déggu ñi nga xamante ne ñu ngi si biir sport bi but agut fu mu war a aaga fu ñu ko war a gis as a country gisaaguñ ko foofu noonu so for you pour nga war a go through all these steps ba nga aaga fii te xaalis involve si passion rek moo tax nga koo def loolu naka nga ko dundee over the years.
Jërëjëf nuyu naa la bu baax a baax nuyu naa tamit QTV maa ngi ñëw ñëpp gërëm ñëpp si laajte bu am solo bi ma laajte parce que boo laajte ni mu xam moom dina xam nu mu mën a tonte. waaw sant yàlla karaté yaa ngi gis xam nga kii mu ngi def ci karaté. number 1 discipline la. respect. waaw nit loo mun a am si àdduna rek ba amul discipline amul li nga am des na. waaw soo sant yàlla karaté comme ni nga ko waxee da nga ko bëgg nga def ko. kenn du la ñëw forcé nga def karaté. da nga ñëw nga def ko. boo koy def timit foo nga am lu tax nga def ko. waaw sant yàlla ñun bu ñu ñëwoon def si karaté de suñu time xale bu ñu nekkoon def karaté since 2000 man 2000 laa dugg karaté waaw 2000 ba dem 2010 lañ soog am suñuy graduation suñu black belt. waaw so nga gis dafa am ni nga ko waxee mënuñ explain fii yëpp ay yombul. karaté comme like school rek comme like grade 1 ba grade 12 noonu la mel di same thing. waaw before nga am black belt lii dafa garaaw. lii nekkul ku ne rek moo koy war a am. déedéet lii dafa am rule and regulation. waaw because of karaté la ñuy wax ñu bari yaa ngi foo nekk karaté boo ko am mu ne rek da ngay dóor nit yi déedéet. boo mu nekk karaté doo mus a xeex exemple sa rakk wala sa nit kuy xeex rek always si mbedd bi dugal ko karaté du mus a xeex.
because of discipline bi.
discipline bi tamit dafay xam ne xeex ndeke lii la grave. boo gisee ngay def dara xamoo ko. boo xamee karaté boo xamee lu nekk si xeex. doo mus a xeex.
waaye man dama foog da ngaa jàng karaté pour nga mun a taxaw li fi.
défense sa bopp
waaw défense sa bopp la waaye moom mu ngi laa explainal ne.
défense sa bopp
because xam nga xeex nu métier self defense. waaw nit bu la attaqué waaye du ne rek nga dem si mbedd bi di dóoraat.
doo mus a loolu du mus a am.
ok ku jàng karaté du def loolu.
déedéet bu jàng karaté. doo mos a gis yeneen sax moo xamal la benn affaire ne ku damay promote mbiri karaté waaye rule and regulation karaté kuy def karaté waroo tux wala woon naan. yow exemple yow boo ñëwee join ñu check sa mbir xam na yow da ngay tux.
waaw
wala yow da ngay naan. dañ lay génne si.
dañ laa génne.
si karaté Gambia karaté.
xanaa doo leen dee mun a revive nit comme ku tux di naan mu ñëw ngeen bàyyil ko yëpp mu start.
dafay loolu boo ñëwee si ñun da ngay gis le exemple foofu fu may ñëwee si da ngay gis ku ñëw fekk dañ ko dóoroon si mbedd bi mu ñëw man xaar dem di jàng karaté bu ñëw dina la dóor. waaye bés bu ñëwee si club bi wala si karaté bi ba jàng ba mun. bu demee kooku day nekkat xaritam.
du dellu ndeysaan.
bu demee si kooku dafay xam ne ndek ok kii ndek bu nga ko dóoree fii rek day daanu dee. so du mës a def loolu noonu.
waaw loolu
te dafa am dégg naa jàng ñu dee karaté nii tam. dafa am yenn point yoo xam ne ñoom xam nañ ko si yarami nit yooyu suñ la fa laalee rek loo ponkal foog nga tëdd.
karaté dafa mel ni docteur rek. karaté ak docteur benn la. from sa baaraan suuf bi ba si bopp bi yëpp. points yëpp nga mun a xam joints yëpp. siddik yëpp
doo ma ko wax.
balde dimbale ñu.
suñ office yi am na ñoo xam ne dama leen war a laal si ay point.
yooyu noonu.
si ay point yu daan.
loolu secret ba pare try ko rek.
am na ñoo xam ne bii dama leen war a laal si point. ñu daanu.
waaw am na yeneen points yooyu nag pour nga mën a daf lay jox wér gu yaram. karaté tamit wér gu yaram la.
kañ
foo ñu baaxee si loolu.
waaw.
boo amee nit ko xam ne ku feebar always wala kuy miir bàyyi ko train.
so léegi time buñ dese moom bariwul so Mr Harding ma bëggoon a xam rek seen competition bi naka la moo demee yan sarta la da ngeen am different levels ak yooyu noonu mun nga ñu wax rek.
waaw jërëjëf Dieynaba kontaan naa si laaj bi trop mu ngeen nuyu yéen ñëpp di leen gërëm di leen sant di nuyu Balde Banna moom tamit di nuyu ñi fi nekk yëpp. waaw competition bi international competition la moo nekk.
okay.
There are 28 karate clubs in the Gambia. ñëpp lañ invite. ñëpp ay participate.
okay.
understand nga. après invite nañ all of 4 karate clubs from the sub-region.
okay. yan dëkk la.
one from Senegal. another from Guinea-Bissau. another from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
nice.
and another one from Ivory Coast. dañ leen invite ñoom ñëpp dañoo ñëw participate. So it's going to be a big event. Understand nga? Wow, it is ñu ngi ko def on the 1st and 2nd February 2025. Ci lañ ko def. Li tax nag ñu ko the reason for organizing this massive competition.
waaw
mooy pour suñ athlètes yi. pour motivate leen.
waaw
understand nga? pour ñu mun a dem pour participate in international events yi they organize. Understand nga around the world.
waaw si lu gaaw rek parce que amuñ time.
waaw
karaté fan la jot a aaga si Gambia because comme ni ma ko commencé woon xaw ma si lu karaté lu bëri. waaye man journaliste la.
waaw
ndam bu rëy su ñëwee war nañ koo mun a yëg ñun.
waaw
understand nga te musuma yëg xam naa ne da ngeen dee dem competition da ngeen dee try. waaye aaganguñ si level boo xam ne karaté bi nga xamante ne professional karaté on the si top bi. so mun nga ñoo wax rek lan a tax loolu.
bii sax mooy suñ 4th edition.
waaw mooy seen fo waaye maa ngi wax internationally. waaw maa ngi wax internationally Momadou dina ci leer. macha allah waaw internationally laa wax.
laajte bu am solo nga laajte.
waaw.
ñun ñu ngi dem always.
waaw
ñu ngi gën a sant sax QC.
waaw
because of ñun suñu first 2019 bu ñu nekkoon dem Sénégal.
waaw
yéen ñi sponsor ñu dem. loolu sant yàlla waaye ñun boo xoolee tamit even ñu this year bu passé in Guinée. African Championship ñun dañu demoon participer.
ok da ngeen bokkoon.
dañu demoon bokk.
waaw naka ngeen ko dundee
dem bu demoon foofu noonu Ibrahima Jante kooku sama student la.
oh Ibrahima Jante.
sama club la jógee
bokkoon na
waaye mu ngi si national team bi. soo nga gis
Nice.
event dafay am bu leen foog ne karaté fii rek la yem.
da ngeen dee dem si biti kañ
international la.
waaw
dafa am level. dafa am national international tamit am African UFAC am WKF. World Karate. so na gis balaa nga àgg WKF dafa am fi nga jaar waaye ñun nag raay na sant yàlla ñun am nañu suñu force génn pour bokk si WKF. am nañu silver medal sant yàlla.
alhamdulilah
suñu national team bi bu ñu demoon foofu ànd ak suñu coach national bi bu ñu demoon foofu dañuy am silver medal. first history indi Gambia la musul am. so nga xamal la ñun ñu ngi teewal Gambia fu sori.
waaw léegi Olympics karaté daf day am si Olympics.
yes mu ngi si Olympique dugal nañ ko si Olympique.
waaye yéen mus ngeen a dem.
musuñ àgg guñ foofu noonu ñu ngi si.
parce que àggagu leen.
waaw
si level
exactly.
so naka ngeen fa mun a àggee mooy problème
exactly
bi.
fu ñu mun a àggee foofu
problème
noonu
steps yi.
comme foo nga àgga WKF fi ñuy njëkkoon dem xam nga suñ first time ni dem WKF UFAC mooy africain ñu am silver medal léegi am nañ record already every event africain dañu war a dem participate léegi nag nguur bi ñëw si war a jàpp si côté boobu parce que boobu nekkul lu yomb boobu xaalis bu bëri la because of this year bu passé one nit rek la ñu yóbboon so bu ñu amee team comme national team bi nu mu dem mu mel ni war nañ am nga xam ne ñu bëri ñu dem participate mun nañ am ay gold medal soo nga gis boobu nag moo lay tax pour yow fu nekk ni yaa ngi baax pour World Karate bu ñëwee ñu mun la bind leeta nga mun a participate yaa ngi wax olympique 2026 bu ñëw nii fii lañ ko defee soriwul Africa fii Sénégal ñoo koy host so bu ñu amee nga xam ne comme façon yooyu noonu suñu gars yi dañu dem participate dañuy gis Gambia nga gis olympique bi nga gis tamit flag Gambia karate lu am solo la
so Ministry of Youth and Sports ma bëggoon a xam rek naka ngeen nekk di gisee ñoom seen taxawaay si wàllum karate because ñoom ñooy ministry bi responsible for sports in Gambia so ñoom naka ngeen gisee seen taxawaay ndax da ngeen dee def ay courtesy call dem meet leen toog a ñoom waxtaan a ñoom because maanaam ñoom ñoo amee dogal bi ñoom ñoo amee koom-koom bi pour dimbale leen pour ngeen mun a def li ngeen war a def
waaw dañ dee dem toog a ñoom dañ leen di meet lañ leen on several occasions Bakary Badji moom mooy di current minister youth and sports moom xamante nañu moom meet nañ ko on 1 or 2 occasions toog ak moom waxtaan ak moom te moom tam definitely suñu amee event nii like competition
daf leen dee
support daf ñu dee sponsor daf dee tamit ñëw ñoo def joxe ndimbalam daf si dee jàpp bu baax a baax even su tukkee sax daf dee yónnee représenté mu ñëw fekk waaw ñëw teew
léegi dañ bëggoon pour ñu waxtaan affaire yi jàppale bi comme février la kañ la 2016 first and second so dañ bëggoon rek ñu waxtaan ku leen bugg a jàppale pour ngeen jàpp si karaté competition bi ay sponsor ak yu demee noonu dañ leen a bàyyi ngeen joxe un number waaye QCell number rek ngeen mun a joxe
waaw am nañ ko
ñoom QCell lañ am sax amuñ beneen number ñii QCell rek lañ am masha Allah
masta mu ne moom ni ñam yi yëpp
QCell lañ
suñ team bi ñëpp QCell number
mos naa ñëw fii ak team bi fii bu ñëwoon fii bu ñu wàccoon suuf gars yi nañ jox fii sim card yu bari damaa dem jox sama SDN yi waaw gars yi dañuy sponsor ñu dem Dakar bu ñu ñibbi woon dañu indi woon gold medal
jox leen waaw ndeysaan
te ñëpp a ngi use seen QCell number yi
xoolal loolu rek
kon
li kiw karaté la
li
kiw karaté la
bëgg nañ sax because of ñun comme ça da nga gis dañ tisaat ku nekk gis nga raay na maa ngi sol tisaat bëgg nañ
waaw
ngeen jàppale ñu si tisaat fekkee mun nañ def tisaat ñu bari foofu noonu nga gën a wane yéen tamit parce que yéen ñun fii la ñu bokk de gis nga waagaan mun naa wax tamit waruma tudd waaye kooku tamit suñu is dañu la bokk
waagaan waaw dégg la
suñu is dañu la bokk
waaw def na karaté am na
waagaan moom tamit de
moytu leen ko de
waaw ba pare balaa ngaa joxe number bi dama gis ne léegi internationally because sexual and gender based violence dafa bari mooy rape
exactly thank you
daanu si kaw xale yi ak naka sudut noonu bari na si àdduna bi du Gambie rek Afrique si boppam bari na am na Gambie tamit tem nga dégg ne xale bi rape nañ ko tem nga dégg ne kii def nañ ko lii ma bëggoon a xam as a karate club bi ko léegi globally dañoo jàngal xale yu jigéen ñi karate
thank you
pour góor bu bëgg a daanu sa kaw def la naka sudut noonu nga defend sa bopp ndax seen club bi mu ngi dimbale because gis naa ay xale yu jigéen ndax yéen a ngi empower xale yu jigéen yi su ko defee ñu am power réeb bi bëri na daanu si kaw xale yu jigéen yi bëri na su ko defee kuñ ko fi bugg a def mu téye borom dóor ko
jërëjëf
mu jeex
man suma assistant bi jigéen la te bëgg a def karaté am na jigéen yu bëri yoo xam ne bokk nañ si académie bi ñu ngi leen a train ñu ngi leen a jàngal waaw karaté
jërëjëf
waaw mu gaaw rek time bi jeex na
bari nañ fa trop
foofu noonu
waaw
si mbiri jigéen yi
waaw
ñu ngi leen gën a support bu baax foo ñuy bàyyi xel nag ne jigéen warul def karaté ñu ngi leen nax jigéen dafa war a def karaté ba mun a defeen boppam yaa ngi on
waaw
daf koy may discipline te karaté bi tamit ngay gis ni daf lay may liggéey certificat yi ñu nekk joxe yi boo demee da ngay am liggéey because of tubaab yi gëmuñu wax kese
da nga am discipline
kayit bi lañ soxla
so it's beyond the hair
so ñu baaxeel jigéen yi ñun suñu club bi moo gën a bëri man maa ngi part of si Gambia Karate Federation so sama club bi moo gën a bëri jigéen si Gambia Karate yëpp ñu may dégg ñoom ñëpp
macha allah
mun nga compter about 37 students yëpp ay jigéen lañ
waaw dimbale leen xale yu jigéen yi
respect jigéen bu baax
dimbale leen xale yu jigéen réeb bi daanu si kaw xale yi daal bëri na so ana number bi
ñu ngi la dimbale bu baax a baax
waaw ban number la
307 65 72 mooy suma number man
307
307 65 72
501 55 70.
5015570. jigéen daal soo leen a jàngal karaté nañ am si yellow belt.
waaw door leen dem leen bambala kuñ Philippine ñu door leen ba ñu ko dee bu fi kenn daanu si kaw ne time jot na waaw xale yu jigéen ñi daal nañ mën karaté waaw soo fu mu nekk nii jërëjëf si seen ñëw bi waaw
ñu ci tuuti rek wala
temps bi dafa jee waaye xam naa leta bi dañ koo jël su ko defee ñu joxe ko fuñ ko war a joxe inshallah
ngeen jégal ñu de
waaw jërëjëf
lu gàttal
la
waaw just
how long because su guddee rek dafa
no du guddul de
leta bi leti lan la
waaw The Scorpion Karate Academy will be organizing an international karate competition on the 1st and 2nd February 2025 at the Semega Jane Hall opposite the Buva Zone. The event will be a massive one, and we are inviting the Gambia Karate Federation to come and support us, starting from the executive, the technical director, and the rest of the technical committees. We are also calling on the Ministry of Youth and Sports to come and support this great event. We are calling the government to come and support us because they were there for us in all our previous competitions.
Thank you. Time bi jeex na. Dañu war a amaat another gun. Ñu ngi defee like 10 minutes.
Waaw congratulations. Ba pare ñu ngi leen di wish good luck. See seen competition. So we'll just go for a short break and we'll be right back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aning orange money ye bulo di nyola pour ka kodi kio sone yandi ka bonan Gambia banko kan kata Senegal banko kan aning QMoney wallet e ka mune batu e muna fan QMoney account wala sign pour ka dati ka kodoki e terimal anila dimbayal kana aning orange money Senegal ni lafta ku Senegal sotola je QMoney customer care commandi 133 QMoney sunyu kalpe nying sartolle bala QMoney ak Orange Money ñoo lëkkaloo pour yombalal leen yónnee xaalis bàyyi ko Gambia dem ba Sénégal ak QMoney wallet looy toog di xaar dawal léegi nga ubbi QMoney account pour nga mun a door di yónnee xaalis sa xariteeg sa mbokk yi jaarale ko Orange Money Sénégal léegi pour am si lu leer mun nga call QMoney customer care si 133 QMoney suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ tëral.
First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Did you know you can buy cash power using QMoney wallet absolutely free up to 30,000 $. Use our app or dial 323# and select Q Power. Choose Register Meter. Enter your meter number. Dial *323# and follow these simple steps. Number 1, select option 3 for Q Power. Number 2, choose option 1 to buy any amount of Q Power. Enjoy free QCell airtime every time you cash in to purchase Q Power. For any inquiries, call 133. QMoney, Sunyu Kalbe.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Hidandi da wawi sodu de cash power e QMoney wallet maong te ayobata hai hunde da wawi sode ko yeha guluji chapan $30. Ko watano baby wadu dial *323# joka sartajiding suboda option 3 fi Q Power. Ontumasi suboda register meter number sa gaini natina number meter maong. Wadu dial *323# joka sartajiding suboda option 3 fi Q Power. Ontumasi suboda ko jelu fala sodude. Awawa hebude ko bura andrere free QCell airtime wattu kala soduɗa Q Power fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi nde waynodude 133 QMoney suñu kalpe.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. And from that exciting discussion on karate, we're now moving on to connecting Africans and African Americans. And we're joined by Amadou Masali. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm super excited about the work that you're doing, you know, about ensuring that people in Gambia, Senegal, and just the West African region are connected to African Americans and just Africans in other parts of the world, which is very important because the connection is there, the ancestors are there. Just recently, I met a guy who is from the Bahamas, and he was telling me how he traced his ancestors to Ghana, which is interesting.
Yes.
And he's never visited Ghana before. So I think the work that you're doing, connecting these two, it's a spiritual thing.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you. I'm
welcome.
glad to be here.
So we'll start with what is the motivation behind this?
That's a good question. Sometimes I can't even explain it myself because here I am. I was a certified public accountant, you know, working in corporate America, and I gave up all of that to follow my dream, I guess. I normally say I'm being guided by ancestral spirits, even if I don't know it. That's the only reason why I think I'll be doing what I'm doing, living what I used to do to what I do now. Yeah.
So how do you do it? How do you ensure the connection?
Well, first, how I started, way back in 2006, I had visited an area where I saw some black people in America that looks like you guys, tall, dark skin, guys got Gambians or Senegalese. So I found out that eventually that these people were descendants of rice farmers that were taken from Africa to these parts, South Carolina and Georgia.
Right.
So our people were taken there over a long period of time for us to influence the culture in America, black culture in America.
Right.
And these are the things that I do to try to make these connections. From Senegambia, for example, I can show that over 200 voyages were made from here to South Carolina.
Wow.
Okay.
In the 1600s, well, 1700s mostly. And today, you have descendants that are from here in America, but they are African Americans, but they are your relatives. They are my relatives from Sierra Leone. So I try to bring us back together to make sure that not just to come have fanfare, but how do we get into economic empowerment as black people all over the world? I think the African diaspora, once they connect back to the continent, we can change narratives in terms of how black people are perceived globally.
Okay, did you go through any form of racism? Did that contribute to you abandoning being an accountant to pursuing this? Did you go to, was there a specific incident that you can point at? Because you're talking about how Africans are perceived. And I am sure racism, you know, comes into play as to these perceptions that exist.
Sure.
So did that happen at any point?
No, not really, not specifically, but however, when I left Sierra Leone, I'm from Sierra Leone originally, and went to the United States, it's when I first started experiencing what we know as racism.
Right.
Because it may have been in my country, but I wasn't aware of it. In America, I was made aware of that, you know, there's this race or class struggle. But that didn't really motivate me. I'm just a proud black man. I feel like we should be telling our own narratives to the world. There's been a lot of distortion in the history. So I think the more we tell our own stories, our narratives, the better it will be in terms of correcting history. Because there are so many things that these Africans that were taken to North America, for example, so many things they did over there, the legacy they left. I mean, just for them to survive alone, the resilience and the resistance they put up, it's just amazing.
Right.
And, you know, the plantation owners were really trying to eradicate our culture and history, our identity. But these guys held on. Today I can see them that, you know, these are my relatives, and they know too. Part of what I do is I bring people back home, the diaspora, back to Sierra Leone. I'm hoping to bring some to Gambia.
Right.
Those who are Gambian descendants, I just don't want to do Africa. I mean, that's fine to do that too now. But I like to be specific. So they do this thing, DNA test now. Once you show that you're either Sierra Leonean or Gambian, maybe we want to go to Gambia if you show Gambia in your DNA and that kind of stuff. So,
because I wanted to ask, how do you determine? I mean, a person is from a particular country. I mean, that was a little bit confusing.
Yeah, they use the DNA
The
now.
DNA test is one thing.
Yeah.
But for Sierra Leone, we have 2 specific stories I'll share with you guys quickly. Number one, there's a 10-year-old girl that was taken from my country in 1756. Today, there's a 50-year-old woman in Charleston, South Carolina, who's a direct descendant of that 10-year-old girl. I know her. Her name is Tomalin Martin Polite. I know her children. They call me Uncle Amadou.
Wow.
This is one of the greatest stories that illustrates how African Americans are related to Africans. And it happens to be for Sierra Leone. But 30 years ago, we didn't even know this. I'm thinking 50 years from now, you would hear so many stories between African Americans and Gambia or even Senegal and so on and so forth. We just need to find these things.
So are you looking into the issue of citizenship? You know, because I can remember in Gambia, there used to be a group. I can't remember right now their name. But during the constitutional review process, the consultations that were done nationwide, I can remember they submitted a position paper, and there was a lot of advocacy around, you know, citizenship because they trace their ancestors back to Gambia. So is that part of the advocacy that you're doing?
Yes and no. I mean, first of all, people shouldn't just look at the DNA, say, okay, I'm from Gambia, and they want to come and have citizenship. They have to also be able to, they should be able to give something. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a double-edged
win-win
sword.
kind of situation.
But also, when you do your DNA and it shows Sierra Leone, for example, and you want to come and get, because Sierra Leone, we give passports now. We give passports. If your DNA shows that you're Sierra Leonean and you're American, they will give you a Sierra Leonean passport. You go through a
immediately.
process. You go through a process.
Okay.
And you eventually get a passport.
Right.
But when they give you that passport, if you just come and get the passport and go back to America, and that's it, to me, we lose some of our culture and value. We don't want to commercialize our culture, our identity by just giving passports. So maybe people should come and
settle
culturize.
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 Mr. Mansari, I mean, how genuine is the DNA? How
I am not a scientist.
How are people convinced? I mean, this is definitely working, and this individual is a native of this place.
Well, for people who are really looking for their roots, and they put something like that in front of them, you can see how you can gravitate towards it, right? In other words, if I want to be African and I take a test that shows me that I'm Cameroonian, as an African American who has been stripped of my identity for years, you know, it brings some sense of pride. So I will embrace that. But whether about the accuracy or inaccuracy, I'm not too sure because I'm not a scientist, but there have been discussions around DNA in terms of its accuracy.
So, Mr. Mansale, thank you so much for joining us. Due to time constraints, we have to let you go. But this is a conversation that we should continue having. And, you know, as Africans, ensuring that we welcome, you know, these descendants, because it is very important. And I love the point that you mentioned, which is not to commercialize our identity. It's about coming back and getting into the culture, learning it, you know, enjoying the moment. But thank you so much for the amazing work that you're doing. Looking forward to connecting again. So Ibrahim, tomorrow, this morning we'll be at Q City.
Live at Q City grounds. And get ready for the Q Carnival.
Yes, the Q Carnival is coming. And also the dinner at the tent. You don't want to miss out on the tent.
Absolutely.
So make sure to get your tickets ready to welcome 2025 in grand
Happy
style.
New Year in advance.
All right. See you tomorrow at Q City.
All right.
All right. Bye for now.